Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Bree. I'm the marketing coordinator here at ESUB. And for today's webinar, we have a quick 30-minute session dedicated to improving labor productivity with our very own Justin Weatherby. A couple of housekeeping items before we start. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent out afterwards. If you guys do have a question during the webinar, feel free to type them in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We're going to get to as many questions as we can at the end, but if for some reason we can't get to your question, we will send a follow-up email as soon as possible. Now, Justin is the Vice President of Customer and Product Engagement at ESUB. He has over 10 years of project management and estimating experience in the construction industry, with previous experience as a construction site supervisor and lead carpenter. Justin is well versed in the ins and outs of the construction industry. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to our expert, Justin.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Bree. Really appreciate that. And as Bree said, guys, we have a lot of people in the room today, but we want to keep it as interactive as possible. So throughout this webinar, as you guys are asking questions, I'll be happy to answer those. So make yourself familiar with your GoToWebinar controls. There's a chat section, and just chat your questions in there. Those will pop up on my screen, and I'll do my best to answer those as those are coming in. Also, we're going to have some poll questions here today. So instead of turning on your microphones and kind of turn this into complete chaos, we're going to let you use your mouse and your keyboard to communicate, not just with us, but with the rest of the group as well. So before I jump into it, we want to know who today is a current ESUB client and who may be seeing ESUB for the first time. So grab your mouse and go ahead and and click on that poll question coming up there. That way we can get good information on who all's in the room today. All right, we got a couple of people still need to vote there, so if you guys see that pop up, go ahead and get it in there. All right, we'll go ahead and close this and share the results with the entire group. Looks like the majority of folks today are seeing ESUB for the first time. That's great news. We'll also be covering some higher level stuff for the folks who currently have ESUB, so you can get a little more out of the system as well. I got one other question. We want to know, what trades are represented here today. Unfortunately, I only get a few different options here. So, if you fall into that other category or specialty category, use your chat window and let me know what trade you're with. If you're maybe finishing or flooring or glazing, if you could just jump in there and let us know. All right. We got 100% of the people. That's pretty awesome. All right. It looks like the majority of our folks today kind of fall into that specialty or other category. Thomas is with a finishing contractor. If anybody else fell into that category, let us know. We got some concrete and masonry folks as well as electrical and mechanical. Haley is doing interior demolition and abatement remediation. Haley, I worked for a firm that did some of that asbestos abatement as well. So very familiar with that. We'll go ahead and hide this poll, and we'll go ahead and just keep rolling along. So today what we're going to be talking about primarily is breaking down our project silos. We've got our field workers in one silo, our project manager, accounting team, and executives all within their own silos. And what we're going to show today is a collaborative tool where we can get that information from the office to the field to make sure that our field folks are as productive as they can be. Now, with the recent adoption of technology, this is more practical than it's ever been. The truth of it is 10 years ago, not everybody had smartphones. The data cell networks were really slow and didn't have great coverage. But you fast forward 10 years later to today, and pretty much everybody's got a smartphone. You're going to be hard pressed to be able to even find a flip phone these days. So with that said, the expansion and the adoption of the technology really allows us to connect the office and the field in a meaningful way. And too often there's been this breakdown of communication, right? It hasn't changed in over 100 years, right? We're putting down pen and paper, using, carbon copies and manually getting that information back into the field and then having it need to be re-entered. So we're going to be cutting down on that and then allowing just the most streamlined way of passing information back and forth. We're going to be looking at tracking productivity and then also mitigating any sort of lost profits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the product. And what you're going to see up on your screen is you're going to see our web interface for your project managers over here on the left. And then I've got my mobile app over here on the right with my eSub app up there as well. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about scheduling your manpower. And before I jump into that, I want to know, do you guys have any sort of software for scheduling that manpower? Do you not, but you need it? Or, is the whiteboard in the office like we had working just fine for you? So grab your mouse, jump in here. If we can answer this poll question, we'll get it closed down, share the results, and move it along. All right, we got a couple more people got to get their vote in. Let's get those votes in. We'll close it up and, make sure we make the best use of our time here today. All right, good deal. Nobody's got software. Some people need it. Some say the whiteboard works just fine. What we're going to do is hopefully show you a better way to make sure your manpower is going to the right location, because the first part of them being productive and efficient is being where they need to be. So eSub has what we call the resource management module. And that resource management module is going to show you all your resources down here on the left. Now, what are your resources? Those are going to be your employees and your equipment. What you're able to do is come in and, move tasks around, jump in, and if you needed to add new tasks for somebody, where do we want them to go? What do we want them to do? And when do we want them to be there? Now, what happens is all of this information is transferred to our mobile app for the folks out in the field. Now, an individual contributor to the project, like a journeyman or a laborer, is going to have the eSub Time app. And when he pulls up that eSub Time app, he's got something down here at the bottom called My Schedule. And based on the information that the office has provided, your individuals out in the field will have a breakdown of where they need to be and when they need to be there, and even what are they doing. Now, from this schedule view, they can open their favorite mapping application so they can get directions to the job. They can also go ahead and start and get punched into that project and start working on that project. eSub offers a punch in, punch out tool. So we're punching into that job. What are we doing? We're going to be doing some roughing, and we've got ourselves punched in. Now, part of being productive out in the field is being able to track their production. eSub has 3 different ways we can enter time into the system. One is an individual punching in and punching out like we're doing over here. What happens is when they punch in or punch out or switch cost codes, we capture their GPS location and compare that against the job site address. Once an individual is punched in, he can take a break. These would be unpaid breaks like lunch. They can also have comments going back and forth between themselves and somebody in the back office. Is this going to be overtime? It works just like text message back and forth around that time record. We could also then switch cost codes or switch projects if our role has changed. Guys, if there's any questions about punching in and punching out, let me know in the chat window, and I'd be happy to answer any of those questions as they come in. Now, what happens is those punches come into the back office. And no matter who's working on, no matter which projects an individual is working on, we're going to be able to see all the punches that they've made down here below their time. We're going to get a roll up by the day, how many hours they worked, and then a roll up for the week as well. Now, let's say everybody's got their time in, somebody comes in, reviews it, and we want to go ahead and approve that time. What we'll do is select who we want to approve, put in our approval pin, and then go ahead and get that time approved. Now, once that time's been approved, it can export into your accounting package. So if you guys want, in the chat window, drop in your accounting package, and I can talk a little bit about the integrations we have with our different accounting package. So our folks out in the field, they're punching in and punching out. When they punch out, it's going to ask if they were injured. Now, this isn't a tool to, immediately send a helicopter to help them. This is for them to verify that they were not injured and that when they went home on Friday, they were in perfectly healthy condition. Now, if they went snowboarding over the weekend or something like that and broke their leg, we don't want them coming back to the job site and trying to put in a workers' comp claim. So whenever they punch out for the day, it'll ask if they've been injured. If they hit no, it'll go ahead and punch them out. If they hit yes, we want to know how they were injured, and we're going to say, done broke my leg. If there's any injuries that come up, those will be flagged here in the back office, and we can take appropriate action on that. Now, there's a few different ways, as I mentioned, that we can track time for our folks out in the field. We have the individual punching in and punching out. We also have what we call the kiosk mode, which this is a kiosk that you can set up at your job site if they don't have their individual apps that they're punching in and punching out to. So what they would do is you would have this set up in the trailer, and Brandon would come in, he would put in his PIN, select what project, what cost code he's working on, and then go ahead and punch in. Now, throughout the week, they can also come in and view their time cards right from the mobile app as well. So you have a time card button down here. And if you have any approved time, you can actually come in and sign your timesheet as well. So I can see I've got some pending time for this week, and then I've got some time cards that are ready for me to sign as well. So I can come in and sign it, verify that I took my breaks and my timesheet is true and correct. So we have the individual punching in and punching out on their own device. We have the individual punching in and punching out on a kiosk that we have on the job. We also have the ability for the foreman to track time for our folks out in the field. So we've scheduled our folks. Now we want to go ahead and, we said where they were supposed to be. Let's figure out what actually happened. Now, with ESUB's mobile app, what you'll notice is whether I'm logging in on the web or on the mobile device, we're going to see a list of the projects that we're assigned to. As a foreman or as a project manager, I'm only going to be assigned to a handful of the projects that my company may actively have going. So I'm going to say today I'm working on the Jefferson High School project, and what we see is a couple pieces of information. The first two, the field notes and daily reports, this is information that our folks out in the field are providing us back into the office. The rest of this information is information that the office is providing to our folks out in the field. Now, ESUB comes from a claims consulting background, and your number one profit protection tool is daily reports. Now, we want to know, how is time currently reported from your folks out in the field? Do you guys have a time card app? Is that phone calls back to the office? Are you guys using paper timesheets? Go ahead and grab your mouse and jump in and vote, and we'll share that with the rest of the group today. All right, we got a couple more people need to get in there and vote. And let's take a look here. We'll go ahead and close this up and share it with the team. Looks like the majority of folks are using paper time cards or phone calls, and a handful of you have got mobile apps as well for a time card app. If you're using a time card app currently, if you're a current client, I hope it's ours. But if not, or if you are, go ahead and drop that in the chat. Let me know what sort of apps are you guys using for capturing time for your folks out in the field. Now, as you guys are putting those in, what we'll do is we'll jump back into our mobile app, and we mentioned that the daily report's your number one profit protection tool. So I'll go ahead and click on daily report, and I'll come in and add a new daily report. And I think it's helpful as I'm filling one out in the field to pull up a completed one next to it. So what you see here on the left is a completed daily report, what it looks like, the final copy, and what you see here on the right is how my folks out in the field fill out their daily report. Now, my daily report's got 6 sections: comments, crews, subs, equipment, material, and I can take attached photos. If I needed to, I could email this daily report either to the GC for their signature or maybe to my project manager because there's something critical on this daily report I want to bring their attention to. Also, your weather information is automatically captured and added to your daily report. I'll go ahead and jump into the comment section here. You're going to have 8 different buckets of comments, and these comments are customizable. And Roger is using exact time to capture his time, and Haley, they're using some paper time cards and T-sheets by QuickBooks. For their QuickBooks clients, we can import that time that's captured, and we'll talk about that in a little more. And Roger, I'd be curious to know what you guys are using for an accounting package as well. So my comment section here in my daily report's a very simple field, but it's very powerful. Now, anytime I'm using the mobile app, I want to utilize the Talk to Type feature. The reason I want to use this Talk to Type feature is as a foreman, I can get a lot of information into the system very quickly. Instead of using my fat fingers to try to type this in, and I'm guilty of having these fat fingers myself, I can just speak what's happening on the job and have that information recorded. We're hoping that instead of filling out the daily report at the end of the day, because this is available on a mobile app, we want them putting in these comments in real time as they're happening. I'll go ahead and save that. And like I mentioned before, they put their mobile app away and they continue their work, and then if something else pops up on the job, maybe there's a scheduling or coordination issue, there was another trade in the way. They can get that recorded quickly and again, go back to their day. So that's the comments section of our daily report. And if there's any questions on that, feel free to drop it into the chat. Roger's using Peachtree Sage 50. Roger, I've done a handful of imports of time to Sage 50. That's actually done with a text file. All that time that's recorded in the back office, we would produce that into a text file and then drop that into Peachtree. Same sort of thing with QuickBooks as well. So we hit the comments section of our daily report, and you can see where those comments show up here. Then we're going to get into the crew section. This is another way that my folks out in the field can record time. This would be a foreman recording time for his crew. So what's a crew? Well, it's just a group of people working on a certain area of the job. So we're working on building 1, level 1. What cost code were we working on? We were doing site work. Who was doing site work? We had Chris, Justin, and Michael. How many hours did we put in? How many units did we install? If you guys are doing any labor productivity tracking, this is a great tool for that as well. This next section of my daily report, I hosted a webinar just for our clients a couple weeks ago, and I had a handful of people tell me that this lost hours section by itself has paid for ESUB. And the reason why is this lost hours section is for tracking unproductive time on the job. Now, before I jump into that a little bit further, I want to know what's the biggest risk to profit on the job? Is it labor? Is it your procuring a material? Is it your equipment rentals? Maybe it's overhead or other. So go ahead and grab your mouse and jump in and let me know for you guys in the industry you're in, what's the biggest risk to your profit? Just need a couple more folks to jump in there and get it answered, and we'll go ahead and close this one up. All right, a couple people I guess I must have put to sleep, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and close this up and share the results. Well, it's a landslide. Labor is your #1 risk to profit. So when we're talking about this daily report, these lost hours are going to be critical in recouping any of that labor risk. So we're going to say that we lost 1 hour, but it's not just 1 hour. It's 1 hour for each person in this crew, and it's not just 1 hour. It's 1 hour for each guy at $75 an hour. So you can see how that really adds up quickly. If I try to save this, ESUB won't allow me to save this crew with a lost hour unless I put in a comment as to why we lost the hour. There was another trade in the way, and we had to relocate to the other side of the building. Let me know if you guys got any questions on this crew entry or anything else here on this daily report. You, of course, could edit these folks and change their hours. You could delete them. You could add another crew that was working on something else on the job. You could have the same people working under a different cost code, and it's going to total their hours down here at the bottom. And this is what it looks like on the finished copy. Now, what's nice is this time that we're recording is actually feeding a bunch of reports within ESUB. What we're looking at here is our labor efficiency report. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and make this full screen just so it's a little bit easier to see, and we'll zoom it in. So you've got your cost codes listed over here on the left. Then you've got your total budgeted hours, the hours that you've used, and the percent of hours that you've used. And once a week or once a month, you can come in and update your percent complete. So, we'll come in here, we'll update this. We're 55% complete. And based on that percent complete, ESUB is going to go ahead and project how many remaining hours to finish that task, and then your level of efficiency as well. Besides that, those lost hours come in here on our lost hours summary. You'll see a list of all the hours that were lost, the date, the labor class that lost those hours, and then any notes associated with it. And if you're running longer duration projects, you may have hundreds of lost hours on a given job. And what my folks, my current clients do with this information is they use this as a negotiating tool to get paid on change orders that they already have outstanding, as well as combating any back charges that might come their way. And what happens is all of our contracts now have some sort of terms about liquidated damages or delay claims, and this can help combat those. So we're going to wrap up our daily report here real quick. Our daily report's got a couple other sections that I want to show you guys. It's got the subcontractors, equipment, and material section. Those are all very basic. You choose your subcontractor from a drop-down, how many workers they had, any notes. Same thing with equipment and material. You can pick your material from a pre-populated database, or you can add material on the fly. Now, last but not least on this daily report is we have the ability to attach photos that we've taken out in the field. We can attach photos that we've currently taken, or we can jump in and use our camera to take some more pictures. So here's my job site today. Go ahead and snap a photo. Once I snap that photo, I can annotate that image. I can take multiple pictures if I needed to. And again, ESUB is going to be forcing best practices. So if I try to save this, it won't allow me to save this without putting some notes in. There was a flood on the first floor, #delay. Now, the reason that we use those keywords is because everything in this daily report and everything in ESUB is searchable. You may be currently filling out daily reports, but unless it's feeding a back-end database, you're not able to extract the information that you need. So I did have a question for you guys. Are your foremen currently filling out daily reports? Yep, they're doing it on every job. Well, they're doing it, but only when the GC requires it. Maybe, right? I don't know. They're supposed to be, but we don't have a great system for capturing that. Very rarely or not at all. All right, we got just a couple more people need to get their vote in, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So it looks like a lot of people are doing it on every job. For those folks that are doing it on every job, let me know what you guys are using for capturing daily reports. Is that paper copies? Are those like Excel? Are those fillable PDFs? Maybe you have a standalone daily report app. If you would, drop that into the chat just so we can share that with the group. Quite a few people, rarely, maybe, not at all, right? So what happens is as I'm filling out this daily report in ESUB, it's actually going to be pulling this in real time. We have a section called Corporate Daily Reports, which shows me all of my daily reports across all of my projects. So as a project manager, I don't have to jump into each and every project to see those daily reports. That information is coming back to me in real time. And because it's what we call structured data, it's all formatted and reportable. So I can search on comments, I can search by date, I can search by who filled this daily report out, and it's coming back to a centralized location. So your folks out in the field don't have to remember to turn this back into the office. I don't know what it is about a pickup truck, but it just seems to eat paperwork. It looks like some folks are using paper copies right now to fill out their daily reports. I've got bad handwriting and I'm a poor speller. My hand starts cramping up if I write too long. So, that talk to type feature I think is much better than, those paper copies. Plus, we're getting those into the office in real time. Not only are we completing the process of the daily report, my daily report is doing double duty. Not only is it filling out what we did on the job, it's also recording time for our folks, and that time can then be imported into our accounting package. So if you're using a separate process for daily reports and time entry, you can combine those into a single spot. Also, those photos from the field are coming in real time as well. I'm able to see that information and then attach those to the other documents that we provide within ESUB, things like change orders, RFIs, and submittals. We won't be getting too much into our document control today. We're probably going to just wrap up here on the mobile side. So we've got a three-prong approach to labor productivity. One, scheduling the folks, making sure that they're where they need to be. Two, is reporting the information of what they have completed this day via the daily report and capturing their time. And then last but not least, we're actually able to provide files to our folks out in the field. Now, from the project management side of things, you're able to set up a folder structure and provide different levels of access to different folders. So maybe my foremen don't get contracts, but they get the current drawings. Here from my mobile app, I'll go ahead and jump back in, and I've got a spot here for project files. And if I click on project files, I'll see those same folders, the ones that I have access to. And if I say, let's open the specifications folder, I could pop one of these open, pinch to zoom, take a snapshot, and annotate that back as one of my field notes if needed. So let's go ahead and jump back in here. What we're hoping that what we're trying to accomplish is that connectivity between the field and office, allowing you to tell them where they need to go, what they're supposed to be doing, provide them any sort of files that they need, whether those are specifications or plans, and then also getting that information back from our folks as well. If you've got any other questions, I'll go ahead and hold on the line. You can go ahead and drop those into the GoToMeeting chats, and I'll be happy to answer those. Also, if you're a current client and you have some questions, maybe you want to turn some of these features on that you don't have, you can email clientsuccess@esub.com. Or if you're not a current ESUB client and you want some more information, you can email info@esub.com or call our 1-800 number as well. Guys, I really appreciate your time today. I hope we made productive use of it. I'll go ahead and hold on for any other questions that might come in. In the meantime, Bree, I'll turn it back over to you if there's any final housekeeping stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Again, everyone, this webinar was recorded. It's going to be sent out later today. Like Justin said, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to email into that info@esub.com question, and we're going to go ahead and get back to you as soon as we can. Justin, do you have any people chatting with questions on your end?
Nope, no other questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up, guys. Again, we really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you guys shortly.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin.